The late afternoon sunlight filtered softly through the windows as Aisha stared at the sink piled high with dishes. Her little arms ached from sweeping the living room earlier, and now, as her mother called gently from the kitchen doorway, asking if she could wash the dishes, Aisha simply sighed. She was tired, drained, and in her heart she couldn't help but wonder, why me? Why do I always have to do all this work? But Aisha didn't voice her complaints. Her mother's smile as she handed her an apron, a quick sign of gratitude, helped ease the knot in her chest. Still, the grumbling thoughts lingered. Her friends at school had talked recently about their carefree afternoons, playing games and resting in front of the television. Aisha felt like she hardly had time for any fun. Washing dishes, sweeping floors, folding clothes, it felt endless, like a treadmill of responsibility she couldn't stop running on. The warm kitchen water splashed slightly as Aisha scrubbed at the first plate. She thought, what's the point of all this? Why do I have to take care of the mess every day? Her eyes scanned the quiet room, searching for some kind of answer. It was then that her mother softly entered the kitchen again, this time holding a folded piece of paper. Aisha, she began kindly, you've been so helpful today. I wanted to share something with you that might give your heart a little peace. Aisha stopped rinsing a glass and turned. Her mother unfolded the paper, smiling with her soft, I've been through this too gaze, and began reading. It was a simple quote, she explained, from both the teachings of their faith and lessons of life. Even small actions done sincerely for the good of others can earn great rewards, not just with people, but with Allah. Sweeping the floor, washing dishes, helping your family, these are acts of love, and love is always rewarded. Aisha blinked. For a moment, her mother's words hung in her heart like little stars, filling the quiet with light. She didn't quite understand what her mother meant initially. Really, Mama? She asked hesitantly. Even washing dishes? Her mother chuckled, a kind, knowing laugh, and nodded. Yes, my dear. Helping takes effort, and it's not easy, but those efforts are never wasted. You are serving your family, all of us, and Allah loves those who serve others with kindness. These chores, simple as they may seem, are blessings in disguise. When you wash dishes or sweep the floor, don't just think of it as work. Think of it as a gift you're giving. That's how it turns into something beautiful. That evening, as the sweep of darkness fell outside their village home, Aisha noticed something remarkable in herself. The piles of dishes seemed lighter, not literally, of course, because she still had to scrub hard at some sticky stains, but lighter in her heart. That evening, as the sweep of darkness fell outside their village home, Aisha noticed something remarkable in herself. The piles of dishes seemed lighter, not literally, of course, because she still had to scrub hard at some sticky stains, but lighter in her heart. Rather than focusing on how tedious the work was, her mind wandered back to her mother's words. Acts of love, she thought, and maybe even blessings. Her hands moved through the tasks slowly, deliberately, almost as though she were weaving sincere threads into each action she did. Washing the dishes meant her family could eat a clean meal tomorrow. Sweeping the floor meant her younger siblings could play safely. Folding the laundry meant her mother wouldn't have to work late into the evening. It all started to make sense. This is bigger than just me, she murmured softly to herself, and a little smile crept across her lips. Rather than focusing on how tedious the work was, her mind wandered back to her mother's words. Acts of love, she thought, and maybe even blessings. Her hands moved through the tasks slowly, deliberately, almost as though she were weaving sincere threads into each action she did. Washing the dishes meant her family could eat a clean meal tomorrow. Sweeping the floor meant her younger siblings could play safely. Folding the laundry meant her mother wouldn't have to work late into the evening. It all started to make sense. This is bigger than just me, she murmured softly to herself, and a little smile crept across her lips. Over time, the days felt different for Aisha. There was still hard work, and the chores didn't magically disappear overnight, but her attitude began to shift. The moments of frustration about why me were replaced with a sense of quiet joy whenever she realized she was contributing something meaningful to her family's life. One morning, after she spent nearly an hour meticulously sweeping the house before school, her younger brother waddled clumsily into the room, carrying his favorite toy. He plopped down on the freshly cleaned floor and giggled wildly as he rolled the toy truck back and forth. Aisha looked at him, her heart softening like clay warmed by sunlight. In that moment, it all felt worth it. She was creating a warm and loving environment for her family, one small action at a time. Occasionally, her mother would remind her of the blessings behind her hard work. For every chore completed with kindness, her mother would say, Aisha, do you see how much your siblings smile? Do you notice how peaceful our home feels? Aisha would nod, catching glimpses of her impact everywhere. And when her mother gently added, do you know how much Allah loves those who care for their family? Aisha's heart would swell, inspired by the knowledge that her seemingly ordinary actions carried extraordinary value. Months later, an unexpected moment brought this lesson full circle in Aisha's life. She noticed her older sister Miriam struggling late at night to reach for the laundry basket. Miriam had been studying hard for her exams and barely had the energy to finish her chores. Aisha walked over silently and took the basket from her hands. Let me fold these for you, she said, smiling. Miriam blinked at her, then nodded gratefully before retiring to her room. That evening, Aisha felt no burden from folding the clothes. In fact, it felt like she was protecting her sister from being overwhelmed. The idea of love and service without reward filled her spirit like a song. And for the first time, as she slid Miriam's neat stacks of laundry into their drawers, Aisha truly understood. Helping wasn't just chores, it was a way to connect, to protect, to make life easier for the ones she loved most. The dazzling realization stayed with her for years. Whether sweeping, washing dishes, or helping her siblings with homework, Aisha always returned to those sacred guiding thoughts her mother had shared. Acts of love, blessings in disguise. As she grew older, her love for helping blossomed, not just at home, but anywhere those little acts of kindness were needed. And while she didn't always receive a thank you, she kept her heart rooted in that quiet peace, knowing that everything she did was woven with a reward beyond sight. Her family grew happier, her home became a sanctuary, and in her heart, Aisha herself became a giver, a keeper of blessings. Yes, washing dishes and sweeping floors were still simple chores, but for Aisha, they transformed over time into something much greater, acts of love so boundless that they created an endless stream of joy for everyone around her. Her family grew happier, her home became a sanctuary, and in her heart, Aisha herself became a giver, a keeper of blessings.